City Hall. First as director of the City of Boston's Boston Home Center, which handles all the city's housing and homeownership programs. And the last 3.5 years, I've been senior advisor to the superintendent of the Boston Public Schools, working on her external relations, government affairs, and constituent services work.
Wow.
Prior to serving as a city councilor, I was an aide at the State House, working for a state representative for almost 7 years. And I actually got my start in government by working for Senator Edward M. Kennedy, who became a dear mentor and friend. And many of the ideals I hold still today, I learned from Senator Kennedy. So I have a 30-year career in public service,
wow,
a 30-year career in government, and a proven record on helping people solve problems every single day.
Well, let me try to translate to the people who are listening, because right now you are in the heart of my listeners. We're talking about Hyde Park, we're talking about Boston, talking about Mattapan. Oof, so many nations there. So let me translate. Nous avons avec nous Monsieur Robert Consalvo. Il peut aller demain si Dieu veut pour State Representative, s'il vous plaît. Et je crois que nous sommes habitués avec lui, parce que monsieur était ancien chef Boston Public School, et il était membre Boston City Council. Pour 12 ans, il représentait District 5 là, qui inclut Hyde Park, Rosendale, Reedville, Mattapan, et toute zone, ça c'est zone neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts. So Robert Consalvo need your help for tomorrow, because he's 30 years. I mean, let me translate. 30 ans de carrière. It's very respectable. So tomorrow, the first, and I think people can start voting our time. I mean, they open the booths for people to vote.
Yeah, the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we would obviously encourage the folks to, when they go to vote, to make sure that they wear masks in the polling place and socially distance. The election department is going to do a really good job making sure that all of the polling places are socially distanced at least 6 feet apart, as well as they will be doing regular cleaning all day long of the high-touch areas as well as of the voting areas. So they are going to be safe polling places where people can actually go to still do their vote on the day of the election.
So, Robert Consalvo fait nous connaître, but make sure, parce qu'il a ouvert à partir de 7h du matin, 7h pour 8h du soir. Make sure que nous wear mask, non? Parce que me, I got my mask ready, so ready for the elections tomorrow. You go and make sure you got your mask ready. Hein? Donc, make sure marcher avec mask, non, qui est très important. Et deuxièmement, pratiquer social distancing, tout cap fait tout au cours de côté n'a voté, nous pas besoin de sortir en masse, sortir pour nous voter. And with the COVID-19, I know it's pretty hard for a lot of candidates to reach the constituent, to reach the people, the voters. So how do you do to get them motivated for tomorrow?
Yeah, that is a great question. So, as someone who's already been elected as a former Boston City Councilor, I've actually run, this is 8 times.
Wow.
My record is 6-2. I ran my first time as an at-large city councilor and I lost, but then I won the district seat in 2002. I served until 2013 when I actually ran for mayor of the city of Boston. I was one of the candidates for mayor. Unfortunately, I didn't win. But as I said, I got to go work in the administration of Mayor Martin J. Walsh, which I love that opportunity and so grateful for the mayor to give me the opportunity to serve in that capacity. So I have experience in running elections before, and clearly this is a different way of campaigning. Our campaign is completely virtual. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, we did not go door to door because we wanted to make sure we were erring on the side of caution. It was all on the phones. I actually called over 3,500 voters personally on the phones. And I had teams of people who were doing virtual phone banks from their houses. So we literally called thousands of voters on the phone every single day. And I'll do it as soon as I hang up from this interview. I'll be on the phones all day today till tonight, reaching out last minute to voters. We also did mailings. And mail was an important way to reach our voters with our message and our information about why we wanted to run and why I want to be the next state representative. So we did over 10 mailings to all corners of the district to make sure that folks got information in the mail. So we did the phones, we did the mail, but we also did social media. So things like things like Twitter and Facebook, which were so important to be able to communicate. Great opportunities like this radio show, which I'm so grateful for, and other radio shows to have the opportunity to communicate. We did ads on Facebook. We did digital media ads. It really was a totally virtual campaign. But we also did traditional things like neighborhood standouts. So on Saturdays, tonight, for example, we'll have a standout in Hyde Park. These are where we stand with our signs out in the community with 25 to 35 supporters holding my signs, all who will be wearing masks to make sure that we're as safe as possible. So we're still doing some of the traditional things, but mostly it's been a 100% virtual campaign. And I've actually really enjoyed the opportunity to call voters personally. I've been able to spend a lot of time on the phone speaking with voters about issues that are important to the 14th Suffolk. I think people have been eager to have those conversations because they're home, they're answering their phones, and it's really been a great tool in communicating with the voters. So mail, phones, social media, digital media, and some traditional forms of campaigning.
C'est ça. Demandez monsieur Robert Consalvo comment pour le faire avec COVID-19 nan, qui sont capable de faire atteindre voteurs yo. Eh bien, femme connaît que premier il est habitué avec situation, d'autant plus que il était Boston City Council là et il était allé pour at large que il était perdu et il prend 2002 jusqu'à 2013, il était allé il prend maillette là pour lui. Il était allé aussi pour magistrat de Boston, mais il pas mal chance, il pas arrivé. Me demandé mais comment pour atteindre voteur dans COVID-19, il dit il utilise mailing. Mailing c'est un point qui est extrêmement important, il fait virtuel tout avec moun yo parce qu'on pas qu'à frapper porte, pas qu'à la caille moun yo et il utilise les réseaux sociaux en pile tant que Twitter, tant que Facebook. Pour comment il est capable d'atteindre voteur. Et demain, 1er septembre, je suis certain, ou même cap coûter dans Matapen, cap coûter dans Wheatville, cap coûter dans Hyde Park, et Rosendale, those areas, s'il vous plaît, because we know we have a lot of Haitians. In Matapen alone, about 13,000 Haitians. And those of you who can vote, don't forget the name again. I keep repeating over and over for you, Robert Consalvo. When you see the name, think about it, please. Robert Consalvo for tomorrow. And Mr. Robert, we know school will be different this year. And the students are waiting to find out, is it the 21st they're going to open for Boston School? Because I was on a Zoom with the superintendent who had a meeting on Friday. And a lot of students are waiting to find out, is it the 10th or the 21st? If it's 21st, are they going to do it by hybrid or remote or like they say, online? So what's the update you have for the parents who are listening ready to vote tomorrow?
Yes. So we are starting with an all-remote learn in the Boston Public Schools. And that because we want to make sure we're erring on the side of caution. And that will allow us to continue to prepare all of our schools. We'll allow us to continue to prepare all of our schools to make sure that they're safe. So our custodial staff, everybody is in the middle of cleaning right now. Our schools are being cleaned. They're being given all the PPE that they need, hand sanitizers every classrooms. Desks are being moved to be socially distanced apart. We're giving parents, we sent out a survey to parents to see whether they wanted to opt in or opt out of coming to school, whether they actually wanted to come into the school building or remotely learn. And so that those surveys are being received, so we'll know what parents are going to do. So they have that option of whether to go back to school. And then what we'll do is, remembering that this will all be based on data and science. And what we will do is, based on the data and the science, if the numbers show that it's safe to go back to school by the time October rolls around, we will then begin to phase students in. First, our highest need students, like our special needs students, our English language learners, and other students who need direct access to services in the classroom, we will then begin to phase them in. So what the mayor and the superintendent announced was a thoughtful plan that's based on science. We need to make sure that the positivity test rates are low enough that we can send our students back to school. We will start with all remote, so that way students begin to learn at home. So it gives us time to continue to prepare our school buildings, making sure that our school buildings are as safe as possible. We also want to make sure that everything we're doing is based on safety and based on science and data and not on politics. We want to make sure what's safest for our teachers, for our students, for our custodians, and for our families. And I say that as a Boston Public School parent. My 3 children also go to the Boston Public Schools. And so I want what's best, not just for obviously all of the children, but what's safest for my children as well. So a thoughtful plan based on science and data, a thoughtful plan that will base it on what is the science and the data at the time. We'll start remote, and then we'll phase in students through October and November based on our highest need students first. But again, only if the numbers say that it's safe to do so. If at that time the citywide data showed that we were over a certain threshold of positive test cases, then we would not. We would continue remote. So what this plan does is it gives us a real opportunity to continue to prepare buildings, continue to make sure our teachers are ready, continue to make sure that the data and the science show that it's safe, and then, continue to make sure that we're thoughtfully phasing in over time so that it's not all happening at once. There's many complexities that we have in order to make sure our children go back into school. But what we really believe strongly is it has to be what's best and safest for students and best and safest for teachers and staff. It has to be based on data and science, and it has to be based on a thoughtful approach that keeps everybody healthy.
Well, that's very important. But is it the 21st or the 10th school will be?
So we will start phasing in students on the
21st?
No, we're starting on 21st virtual, so it begins all remote.
Okay.
So everything begins remote to the start. And then on October 1st, we'll begin phasing in our highest need students first.
Okay.
And that's also based on the feedback that we
right.
got from which parents want to opt in and which parents want to opt out.
Very good.
And then there will be a phased-in schedule through the month of October and through the month of November for then our older children all the way up to our high school children.
Very good. So, pour moun kap tande, pa biye li fait connaître que l'école là c'est 21 là pour ouvrir, il a fait le par remote. Et puis à partir de 1er octobre, il pourra changer système nan pour parents qui a besoin de voir ti moun aller l'école pour 2 jours et 3 jours là cadet etc. Donc il a communiqué au fur et à mesure. Mais c'est 21 spécialement. So we have 2 minutes left and we know tomorrow September 1st, people are ready to go and vote. And do you need people to carry sign for you? So how things will be? How you prepare yourself for tomorrow?
Well, we're going to continue to make phone calls all day today to remind voters. We have phone banks going all day today to remind voters to vote. And then tomorrow we will be covering all of the polls all day long with my supporters. I will be standing at the polls as well all day greeting voters. And we will have our operation just all day long, continuing to remind voters that it's election day. So part of the challenge for any candidate is to make sure that we turn the vote out. It's to make sure that we remind folks, no matter how they vote, it's important that voters go to the polls. And that's something that I want to stress. I hope that they vote for Rob Consalvo, but I just think the most important thing is that voters go to the polls. Voters go to the polls to vote. Voting is so critical. I would urge and I humbly ask your listeners to please vote for Rob Consalvo for state representative in the 14th Suffolk District. But no matter what you do, please exercise that right to vote because it's so important that they do that. And we're going to continue to contact voters right up to the last minute, right up until 8 o'clock when the polls close. I will be contacting voters to make sure that they go out to vote and hopefully vote for me. And just one other quick thing.
Yes.
I want to just go back quickly because it was such an important question that you asked, and I'm really grateful that you asked it. Related to the phase-in of our schools,
yes.
I want to give your listeners some more specific dates that I actually have so that they know. The remote learning begins September 21st,
okay.
Where all students will be remote learning. We will then phase in our highest need students starting on October 1st.
Okay.
And then after that, as I stated, we will then begin to phase in additional students starting October 15th and 19th, October 22nd and 26th, November 5th and 9th, and November 16th and 19th. So the reason I wanted to say that, so your listeners know, this is a really 2-month phase-in of our students to give all of our students time to get into the classroom, to get settled into the classroom, to make sure that we're phasing in students slowly so that that things are safe. And it was important I just wanted to reiterate, so I want parents and your listeners to know that we're tracking from on October 1st to November 19th phase-in of students based on grades. And that's really important, again, because this has to be done in a thoughtful manner that makes sure that all of our students and staff are safe, and at the same time is based on the data and the science. If the numbers show that, because we don't know how COVID's going to react next week, we don't know how it's going to react in 2 weeks, and we certainly don't know by October 1st where we'll be. We're hoping, obviously, that the positive test rates, which are very low in the city of Boston, will continue to be low, which will allow us to bring our children back in a phased approach. But again, if by that October 1st timeline, it's not safe to go back to school, the city can immediately pivot to all remote learning. So again, starting all remote on the 21st, but then a slow phase in right through November 19th.
Thank you very much. Well, for those of you who are in Hyde Park, Rosendale, Reedville, Mattapan, neighborhoods of Boston, Massachusetts, don't forget the name, Robert Consalvo. Mr. Robert, I hope tomorrow night when everything all set and your hands will be raised as one of the guys who got to work for the people, and to bring them hope, and also things will work out fine tomorrow. Thank you very much. If you have a last word, what will it be?
Well, I just want to say thank you to you for giving me this opportunity to come talk to your listeners, especially in the era of COVID. Being able to communicate to voters and constituents and community members is so important. And this was really fantastic of you to allow me to do this. I want to thank the listeners for listening. I want to ask for their vote tomorrow, September 1st, on Democratic primary for Rob Consalvo for state representative. And I want the voters to know that I am running for state representative because I truly believe that government and public service is and always will be about helping people, about making a difference in the lives of others. It's about bringing people together to solve problems. And it's about making sure that government is working for all of the people, not just some of the people. And that's what I intend to do, to make sure that state and city government works for you.
Thank you very much, and good luck for tomorrow, Mr. Wabet.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, c'était Mr. Wabet Consalvo qui était avec nous, et qui pourrait aller pour State Representative. Vous connaissez. Rôle, c'est pour make sure que nous baillons tout le monde.